All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel with coffee, talking about real music and what happened to Ozzy Osbourne, the internet speculation, doing what I do in real time for just a few people out here, like you right there, and like me here. All right, so this episode almost brought to you completely by Buy Me a Coffee. Mm. Ah, I made a killer cup. All right. Also, Patreon, YouTube memberships, PJ Rock super chats, which technically those turn into buy me a coffee as well because I drink a lot of coffee. It's my only vice these days. It really is. I mean, I don't go to concerts. You would think I could because I drink a lot of coffee. I tend to drink it earlier in the day. All right, so lots of speculation. Wow. The comments about Ozzy Osbourne and what really happened to Ozzy. Um, Look, folks, at this point, this is just a sport to speculate. People are saying that Sharon took Ozzy to Switzerland about a week ago, and they took care of this, meaning they expedited his trip to the other side. I'm trying to use language that doesn't use the S word, which sounds a little like pesticide or herbicide. All right. So just, you know where I'm going. But, and Ozzy even had a song about this, right? The solution. But anyway, and that was not advocating for this. Okay. A lot of people misunderstand a lot of what Ozzy sang about. But it's really wild to see the internet with all these theories, about what really happened to Ozzy on the next episode of The Big Speculator. Um, Look, folks, do I think this is a possibility? Well, anything in today's world is a possibility. Um, we're learning all kinds of things about our government and what happened a few years ago. And you got either side just going crazy with, yeah, that didn't happen, or yeah, we've got all the documents here. Here they are. I tend to trust the documents if you have them rather than some lawyer refuting it because it sounds ridiculous. And so this thing with Ozzy, it sounds ridiculous. I made the point in my tribute video yesterday to say, hey, it seems like he was just holding on for this concert. And I'm talking about the Black Sabbath reunion concert, which seemed to go off without a hitch, way better than I thought it was going to be. And people are coming back with, well, his voice was auto tuned, right? Yeah. And about 80% of what you hear out there, and this is another reason I don't go to concerts, is most likely helped along by the soundboard. All right. Have you gone to see Don Felder? Anyone? I love Don Felder, by the way. I'm not picking on Don Felder. But Don Felder's getting a lot of help, all right? Even on the records, he's getting help. He's not your lead singer, your normal lead singer. Hence, this is why, and I've read the book. I've got the Don Felder book. I believe his story is a tragic one because he added a lot to the Eagles, and he had a contract and they ripped up the contract. So he didn't like that. Anyway, and I think the contract should have been honored. Well, as you say, he's not really a great lead singer. All right. Well, my point was he tried to sing Victim of Love. He had too much tequila or whatever. They kicked him out. Henley came in and sang it. Now, there's a reason Henley came in to sing because he's a better singer. And Don Felder, probably his best work as a solo artist was heavy metal. Had a lot of help from background singers Glenn Frey and Don Henley and Tim Schmidt, I believe, on that track, if I recall, and I could be wrong. So anyway, getting back to Ozzy, Ozzy could have gotten some help with the vocals, and okay, he was singing. He was making noise, and they were converting that noise into beautiful music, or at least music that was Black Sabbath sounding, and they got through the set, and I think it was a hit. I think they did well. And then, of course, Ozzy did solo stuff too. So maybe that was like all he could do, all he could muster. And after that, it was time to go to the next life. And that might have just been too much for Ozzy to hang around. I was thinking, wow, it went so well. Maybe they'll do another one. That's what I was actually thinking that like maybe next year they'll do one or 6 months they'll do one. They'll let Ozzy recover and then they'll go back out there and do another one. But obviously that's not going to happen. Now, what could happen though is that Ozzy may become more popular dead than he was alive. And I mention that because of his mystique, his image, the fact that, you could do a Kiss thing where you have the avatar and Sharon, who is the world's greatest business person, woman. Um, I could see her spearheading this in a couple of months. We'll let this die down for a bit, take a break. But if all the speculation is right, this probably happened a week ago, and we just learned yesterday about it. Now, I don't buy into any of this, but people are like, come on, Dave, you're smarter than this. Like, no, I'm not. I've got 6,000 subscribers. Rick Beato was like 2 million or something. He's smarter than I am. I just come on here and kind of shoot from the hip. Sometimes I hit, sometimes most of the time I miss. So I just thought, hey, Ozzy passes away. I grew up listening to Ozzy. Wasn't my favorite artist or anything like that. I went to see Ozzy and Metallica in 1985, folks. Yeah. And people say, how come you don't go to concerts? Because what's going to top that if you like those two particular things? If you like Metallica, 1985. Now, I know they became more popular after that. But a friend of mine who had this radio show where he was the master of metal, I used to basically help him out with the show. I didn't do any DJing on the show, but I would retrieve records, and sometimes I'd give him tidbits of information to use on the air and so forth, because I wasn't a metalhead. But I really enjoyed what he was doing, and he was very enthusiastic, and he persuaded me. He said, you must go to see Ozzy with me. And I was like, okay, who's opening? Metallica. All right. Didn't bring any earplugs. Was a huge mistake. Couldn't hear anything for 2 days. Ozzy sounded like Air Supply after Metallica. It was, and I'm serious. I'm serious. The rafters in the Worcester Centrum were rattling. They were shaking, and we were in the nosebleed section, and people outside were going deaf because it was so loud. So, all right. So that's my Ozzy story, completing the rest of it. Do I think Ozzy died like a week ago? No. I don't know, though. I mean, someone, just like with the voice analysis, when did Ozzy die? And how did he really die? And who assisted in this? And was it Sharon? And stop, all right? The internet, it's rough. And this is what I do. I make videos. So I'm in on everything, unfortunately. But I'm not on this thing all day. The dog needs to go out for a walk. I need to do laundry. I need to do other things. And I mean, to keep these shorts looking good, I have to keep doing stuff. And yeah, I hang out with my wife and my kids. And so those are important things. And I go to church. Yeah. Let's hope that Ozzy found Jesus. Wouldn't that have been cool at the end? Like Sharon says, yes, and he accepted Christ as his savior. Well, what about you, Sharon? You need to be next, right? In fact, your whole family needs to accept Jesus. Imagine if the Osbournes all came to faith and they went to church together. That'd be wild. What a testimony that would be. All the celebrity pastors all over the United States. Hey, please welcome the Osbournes. I mean, they'd get a royal welcome. They'd be more popular than ever. And they could do a speaking tour. They could be great witnesses for Christ. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I think Sharon is going to launch some more Ozzy stuff. You know, I mean, now that he's not here, she can go hog wild and make him even more popular than he's ever been. All right, people, I'm pretty much done with this video. This is a band that I've been talking about. Not the greatest album cover. All right, just throwing it out there, but great music inside. The band is called Double Vision, and this is like 3D, right? 3D glasses. So that's not really double vision. But anyway, they sound like Foreigner, but they have original music. You can check them out at doublevisiontheartist.com. I've listened to this several times all the way through, 13 songs. So you get your money's worth, courtesy of our friends over at Frontiers Music, who are putting out some really great stuff these days. Good for them. They kind of, I don't know, they changed their focus a little bit. And now they have a lot more variety and the cookie cutter stuff. They're not really doing that anymore, which is very cool. So check out Double Vision, the artist. My name is Dave. Thanks for watching. Don't forget about Buy Me a Coffee, all right? I mean, I'm serious. I need this stuff, and it keeps me going. And for those of you who want to help me, YouTube memberships, Patreon, PJ Rock Super Chats. He puts gas in my car. And that's it. God bless everyone. And more conspiracy theories about Ozzy, I'm sure, will be happening. So stay tuned for those.